ready for, let's get ready for, let's get ready for, let's get ready for, let's get ready for, take your seats, 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 take your seats.
What the hex is you guys talking about?
What the hex is going on, ladies and gentlemen?
BlackRock. Let's do this shit.
Now, I know you have been a leader in willing to embrace crypto. You have made it so that people can be in Bitcoin. We hear that you are thinking about Ethereum. These are incredible things. Now, BlackRock is not known as a gunslinger by any means. So you obviously must believe that this maybe is an alternative. Is this an alternative in order to be able, because of a deficit, maybe something long-term people should have?
Absolutely. As you know, I was a skeptic.
Yes.
I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are. I believe we have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios. I believe you're going to see that as one of the asset classes that we all look at. I look at it as digital gold, as I said before, and I do believe there's a real need for everyone to look at it as one alternative to, I would say, the optimism that I have in the world. If you want to hedge hope, Bitcoin is not an instrument for hope unless you're hopeful you're going to make a lot of money on it. But I look at it as a vehicle in which you're expressing your financial acumen in something that you're more frightened of the world, you're more frightened of your existence. And I believe there's a great industrial use for it. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
I couldn't agree more. I changed my mind about it when you did. You admitted my thinking. It was like, you don't believe in it, so I can't believe it. I want to thank Larry Fink for the message of optimism.
Thanks.
Go fuck yourself.
The biggest winner, of course, was Hex, and we want to know, well, what the heck?
What the heck?
What the heck?
What the hex?
What the hex?
What's going on, everybody? Well,
what the X's?
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator J.D. Vance has come to the show, revealing his alter ego, AxisAlive, in our community. Senator Vance, you've stepped away from the Republican National Convention just for the show, just for the hour. This is going to be a whopper, people, so stay put. DJ, take away the hellos.
No, I want to say hi. Axis, this is amazing. Thank you for joining us. Been a long time coming. I think we've been on stream once or twice at some conference or something, but to have you here on the What the Heck show, that truly means a lot. Thank you very much for.
Thanks for having me. It's funny because I've actually been trying to contact Papa Boner through Telegram for like, I don't know, like 30 months.
It's
what? How would I have missed when you ping me at all? We have friends in common.
You probably thought it was like a fake Axis account or something.
No, I did tell you about the fake one though. I did. Yeah.
I think that was on Twitter. I should have hit you up on Twitter, is what I should, or X or whatever.
Well, you can hit me up in any way, shape, or form. I will never not get right back to you, sir. So maybe my personal assistant weeded that out as spam.
No worries.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Well, we made it here. This is the point. So I'm glad that we're finally together, and
yes,
we're one big happy family. We've called the herd, and they're the last 3 men standing that believe.
100%.
That's right.
That's almost maybe.
I really am curious. I got to know like where you guys are at with this has been a treacherous like 3 years of price action on the hexes, and I'm just curious. I got to know like where you guys are at with all this stuff going on.
DJ, you first.
Oh, you want to sentiment farm us over here?
Sentiment farming. I like that. That's an interesting one.
Well, it's we're still staked. Always been staked. Me personally, I'm like 90% staked on my whole bag, 10% liquid. And that's how I've always kept it. And I haven't sold a damn thing. Still true RH believer in his principles. I think nothing has changed. That's always what I say when we talk about this. The fundamentals have not changed. If so, with Pulsechain, they've only gotten better, cheaper to transact. We got a double of our hex specs, double of our T-shares. The other stuff that comes with it, the derivatives like Hedron, Icosa, we got double that now on 2 different chains. So what's not to like? Of course, the only thing that's terrible has been the price action and all these whale games that we've been observing for the past 3 years. But me personally, it's not my first rodeo, not my first cycle. Maybe it comes from experience too. I can understand that if you only joined late and bought the top or whatever, and then you've seen nothing but 2 years down. But there are even guys like that, like Alan Fizame. He makes this public, for example, who's always around, and he stick around, and he's been DCAing, adding more to his bag. So I'm still very bullish, very, very positive. Can't wait to see what the future has in store. And this is no cap. It's really what I think.
Yep. As for me, I have 2 ways to answer that question, Mr. or shall I say Dr. Alive?
That may be appropriate.
Nice. So, well, there's 2 things. Number 1, you've come to the Alter Cocker show. That means the aging, freaking decrepit mummies that are like, we feel older than Joe Biden, basically. And for us, a 3-year stint is like a walk in the park. It's like a batting of the eye. It's like, what? That's it? It's like, this is quick. Stop, get me off this ride. It's too fast. And you're like, we're going 5 miles an hour, Grandpa. So that's one thing is to us, I think there's a scale. There's a relative shorter distance than what you young pups are stressing about, saying it's over and it's been so long and all this other crap. For us, you said it and you forget it. Now, the other aspect is, and this may not be so pleasant to think of in terms of an analogy, but over here in Hawaii, we got these dung beetles. You know what a dung beetle is?
It lives on poo.
Exactly. So it's a fat little scarab beetle that collects shit and it rolls it around with its hind legs and walks backwards. Okay, so I picture myself at this time in this market like a dung beetle. I'm collecting, amassing this thing, knowing right inside, and this is where the analogy gets a little bit kind of formed for the Hexican crowd, in the middle is a diamond. The end. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think people are gonna really be surprised. Like, Pulsechain and the hexes it's an all or nothing thing at this point, and we at least we can verify that some of our biggest whales have a lot of Ethereum. So in any event that Ethereum appreciates in price, And then, based on what happened last cycle where there was like buybacks, I guess you could call them. And we've seen that now this cycle as well already, that, 10x is at like easy for all of the RH assets. And that's probably like the lowest bar, just 10x. And, it's interesting though. I think without adoption, it's going to be hard for us to get the big multiples that Hex had in his first cycle, but I'm optimistic. I think that we can actually get there. So,
isn't it bullish to you as well that the price is actually holding up as it does? Like with all this FUD that has been thrown at us, the SEC, the lawsuit, the community is at each other's throats, like all this FUD going on, the vampire attacks, and it's still sort of holding the line. It could be way lower with all this stuff going on. Isn't that something you look at as well? Because I know that's one thing I like to commend you on. Whenever you are on these streams, you're very bullish about the RH coins, and especially bullish about EHEX, which many people have sort of abandoned. Not on this show.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't write off EHEX. I mean, I just look at the volume on the Hex on Pulsechain, for example, and like it's doing like $1 million. Like let's do a weekly candles here. Like it's doing like $1 million, $2-3 million weeks lately. Like between $2 and $3 million a week of volume. That's pretty good. And then like when you go back just to May, I mean, those were like $10 million, $8 million, $15 million weeks of volume. So the thing's far from dead, and it's showing resilience. So I'm with you that the price action here at the lows is holding up quite well in the face of like everyone and their brother spawning a shit coin and like diluting the value even further, and yet the chain isn't losing value. And I think the bridge has been kind of stuck around like $100 million of value on the bridge, and that's kind of what I got my eye on right now.
Okay. Before we go further, let me say hi to our trusted audience here that always comes back and again each week. Although I have to say, man, we are 80 people live right now. This is obviously because of you. 40 on the YouTube. We never had 40 on the YouTube. Like 3 minutes into the show. I mean, the one to break is the Huddle Dog episode that had like 500 views on YouTube. So let's see what we can do. Smash the likes, follow the channel.
Axis, put on the Huddle Dog mask quickly. We have it. We issue them out to all of our guests.
I gotta say, I appreciate everybody that comes and follows me around all these different streams. It's really appreciated. Give these guys your time and attention. They've been here a long time, so they've been around the block. I think this is both your guys' second, if not third cycle by now, yeah, for crypto.
Third,
yeah.
Third cycle.
Third cycle, yeah. So since like
3 years
16,
streaming
15, 16, 17. Yeah, and you've been streaming like crazy. So yeah, we're all kind of in the same boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got in late 16. What about you, Papa?
Late 16, early 17. Like late 16 was I think XRP was like the thing that got me. Oh, aha, that's what I want to get into. And it did rather well into 17. But then I held it through saying XRP to the moon. This is amazing. And then I had to DCA it for 4 years to get my money back. So that was crap. In fact, it overlapped a little bit. My holdings with that piece of crap overlapped with my adoption of Richard Hart and the Hex thing and the launch. And it went through. And then as soon as I was able to DCA out and get my money out, plus $50, mind you, 4 years of return, $50, I was able to put that into Hex. So that was one of my great moments, is getting out.
A couple interesting points on XRP. So number one is, learn from Papa Boner's history lesson here that sometimes it's better to take a small L on your way to recovery to put that into something that you think is going to perform massively. Now, in the beginning of Hex, I can't fault you, because if you did put in sizable amounts of money into Hex, like in the first few weeks, you were kind of insane, because it had just as equal amount of chance of failing as it did as doing a 10,000x. So, but that being said, if you could only see the future, right, and know the move would have been to like deploy everything you had into Hex at the time. So, and the second part of that was that there was some signals that fired off in the last couple of days that XRP might actually be setting up for finally for the move that we've been waiting for like almost 3,000 days, right? The move that takes XRP to new all-time highs.
That's some diehard hodling in XRP. Like,
Never gonna touch it again. Go
We've
F yourselves,
come from all
everyone.
these years.
No,
Oh,
no.
man. Was also the first coin that I bought. Shame on me. But
Well,
I
hold
didn't know
on.
better.
This is interesting because like
Yes.
I look at the Ripple company and the XRP, history, and I think to myself, well, if they hadn't spearheaded, going back and fighting their own troubles with regulators, and of course that meant draining the XRP balance sheet for years just to like fund the battle. Would crypto be worse off? And I do believe the XRP holders suffered for that. But ultimately, we kind of have to be grateful that they did do that because they were fighting the SEC long before Richard had to even, think about that. So
it's true.
I think that's going to turn out to be one of the big surprises is that XRP is actually going to do pretty incredibly well as regulation gets, finalized and cleared up.
Yeah, but Axis, let me just introduce you to why I was disillusioned, and this is the inside track, right? My history is in security sales, right? So I was able to, and living in Japan, I've got my Rolodex is filled with banks, right? So I was able to go to the infrastructure managers of all these banks, right? And just ask them, I'm like, XRP has got you, or Ripple, the company, is touting that you're on their roadmap. You're on their, their salespeople are now forecasting 60% that you're going to deploy after a proof of concept. Is there any actual weight to that? And they all said, absolute freaking no. Not at all. Yeah. And that's when I said, okay, so this is just a simple Silicon Valley type style beefing up of the roadmap, looking at the order book is imminent. We're going to get filled and it's going to be freaking amazing. Forget the fact that Jeb McCaleb gets $1 million a month to dump to go and do Stellar Lumens, which is a competitor to you, which doesn't make, it's a big boat anchor, but also the fact that the token also has to get dumped to keep the lights on at the actual core new co. Okay. So all of that is a strike, and a strike. So that's when I said, we made a mistake, darling. Now we got to get out. And like I said, I'm not going to take the L. Back then, I wouldn't have calculated to take the L. There was nothing to put it into back then except for, a few options. And there was HEX. So HEX was my target. But to get out, I was just gritting my teeth as I heard lofty conspiracy over lofty conspiracy. Even my friends at banks in Spain, where they said that they had a definite cinch, it was definitely going to happen. These walled gardens were going to be connected through the XRP network. It was going to be amazing. Turned out to absolutely be bullshit. Mm-hmm. So if you think that it's a great meme coin at this moment on its own network, have at it. But as far as I'm concerned, if you want to derive value from something that works and has an amazing uptime, doesn't have to be considered from anyone on the outside to be worthy versus regulation versus old fiat type of rails and things like that, then by all means, go play. But I got HEX and the Richard Hart ecosystem. That's my comparison right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm not jumping to buy it, but I'm just saying.
It may get its $3.50. Yeah,
we just gotta hope that this ecosystem doesn't turn into XRP. It's got to perform. Yeah. And of course, I understand that this is a completely different setup because, it's all on-chain traded and verifiable, and you can track liquidity and price movements. And I mean, look, coins are being launched on this chain that are doing like billions of X. So it's like there's already so much opportunity, and then it's just ripe over on Pulsechain. It's cool because like the meta game's a little bit better than on Ethereum, where a lot of people are priced out of doing certain actions. Like, if you want to play around with like a lending protocol or you want to set up an LP pool, that could cost you a lot of money. Although gas has been cheap lately on Ethereum, I still think that inevitably it's going to get worse before it gets better. And so I mean, Pulsechain's a good solution in the short to midterm for sure. And you know what? All my eggs are in that basket, so I'm hoping it wins just as much as you guys are.
Yeah, like all of us, I guess. There's actually one question I had for you, and I don't know if you're actually able or willing to talk about that. I don't know if you can't, then just say no. But the Axis token, right, which was, I would like to say, tremendously successful on Pulsechain. I'm kicking myself that I didn't buy some when it was lower because I had it in front of me, but I was like, I don't know. And then I wanted to ask you, because the price performance was absolutely crazy. I think it was 80 grand at what time. What are the key takeaways that you learned? Because I'm sure for you this must be as well, must have been like a learning curve, experimenting around. Can you share some of the key learnings that you had from that experience of watching the performance of that coin? What
Yeah.
does it actually matter to, get these access?
Yeah, so you're not going to get the knowledge and experience that I got from that unless you replicate it. And I just think that it was such an amazing experience. Like I'm pretty sure that there's almost nobody else on Pulsechain. It'd be very hard to find somebody that could stand in my shoes and say that you experienced something go from $1,000 of liquidity to, multi-million dollars worth of liquidity these days, and all these team partnerships with all these other coins and stuff. And
Right.
the main thing is, you ever heard this expression, you fake it till you make it, or like you throw enough shit at a wall, something will stick. Well, in a lot of ways, meme coins, Pepe, the thousands of, like, any of these coins, the thousands of meme coins that exist out there that have been launched, like 99.99% fail, but the 0.01% that survive and actually build and become a market, it's a fine line. It's a very fine line. And in this case, I think what it was a lot of the ways that I went about it was the right way to do something like this, which is where it was launched in secret and I never promoted it. And especially for the first, like, I would say 4, 5, 6 months, I didn't really talk about it at all because, at that time, you don't know if this thing's going to take off or not. All you can do is put the text out there on the internet somewhere, so for someone to read about it and then see if they can get behind it or not. And so over time, you learn so much about humans and their behaviors and stuff. And what I mean by this is, like, you start a coin with like a limit. I started this coin with like a super limited supply. And, people got in between like $1 and $10, and like they might have gotten like 30, 40 coins and rode that stuff up. But at some point, everybody's got a number, right? And so somebody has to take the hit for that. For them to exit, somebody has to take the hit. So there's all this you have to learn about economics. You have to learn about sentiment and like, it's super, it's hard for me to say clear and concisely every single thing that I've learned about this. But the one thing I've learned the most is that there's very few people in this game that you can really count on at the end of the day. But you can always count on yourself if you're benevolent and you stick to your guns on that. So I think a lot of it comes down to, you have to have a benevolent, centralized control structure in a coin. Because if you don't have that, then you don't have control of the units. You can't predict, or you can't help curate the thing to go higher, because eventually, in a lot of these cases, these coins get distributed and there's always this 1 or 2 bad actors that can potentially kill a project. And there's even times in the price chart, I can see it in my mind's eye right now, where it could have went one way or the other.
Right.
Like it could. Yeah.
So it's also like how the people are playing within that, because my impression was that it's purely a technical thing, of balancing liquidity with availability, sort of like more from a technique. But you're now saying no, it's also about the people. It's a bit of marketing, bit of strategic marketing, if you will. So it's more like a wholesome
it's the same thing with
XRP.
all, like that XRP example is a really good one, because like
welcome to what the XRP,
right? Not to say that it was right of them to spread rumors and like, oh yeah, we got this bank in the bag, they're going to do it tomorrow. That's not what I mean. But that is the type of like narrative that can drive price appreciation, or it can like drive activity or adoption and stuff like that. But with this one, yeah, I mean, it's all those things that you said. But ultimately, the reason why this coin works is because, and why it will continue to perform and probably go hit $1 million one day, is because, by the way, I'm putting an asterisk next to that because it doesn't have to happen.
I have to put our
it's high,
disclaimer up now. Yes, continue.
Yeah. Like, it's likely that it can hit higher and higher price targets, because once a person's out of coins, they're out of the system, and you can actually track verifiably. There's only 473 coins on the market. And so at some price, if a guy dumps heavy enough, which we saw this a couple months ago when this kid that got 44 coins between $1 and $10 rode that thing all the way up. So he put $100 in and he rode it all the way up till it was worth $1.1 million. And he held the whole way, minus he took off maybe 30 or 40K, which was sustainable. So I call that like a sustainable, good diamond-handed holder that can follow this principle of, would you rather have $1,000 a day forever or $100,000 today? He was following the teaching of, oh, okay, so we can grow this thing, and my bag might be worth 7,000 times the liquidity that'll be there, but if we allow it to grow and we don't smash it, the amount that I could peel off per day is always going to be more as the asset base grows and you become like a trusted holder of the coin, right?
Right.
So anyways, he had everything right except for when he was hungry one night, and this story is out there, so I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know. He was hungry one night. He was trying to get a prepaid debit card on BlockBlend. Somehow he ended up in a fake Telegram BlockBlend room. Somehow he believed that there was some fake merger upgrade to V3 BlockBlend to do the debit upgrade.
Oh, no.
Somehow he clicked that button. Somehow he approved a transaction for an infinite spend, and then the drain happened.
Shit.
And so, but what Axis was, what that proved about Axis when that happened was that you could inflate the circulating supply of Axis by 10% within a 12-hour window, and it would still survive. So what that looked like was $1.1 million of value was pushed through the market, and what that equated to is about 650K of actual PLS was extracted, dumped for ETH on the Ethereum chain. And that now sits, the last I checked a few months ago, it was sitting in USDC and a couple of wallets from the drainer guy. So with the slippage and everything accounted for, the asset was able to survive as like a $600,000 attack, basically, which is pretty promising when you can inflate a coin by 10% in a day and it still lives on and actually rebounded like 3x or whatever. That was pretty cool to see. And it's happened more than once because there were other guys earlier in the chart that did similar stuff where like they just couldn't hold their wad. They got in so early, they were up so much, and they lost their. But this is so important because it teaches me as a founder so many things about human nature and how things change. And it's funny how like somebody whose input cost was $100, they think that they own that paper number that says 1.1 million or that it says a couple $100K. Like they think that they own that number and that they own that liquidity that's sitting there, resting there to trade in and out of. But you don't own shit until you swap it for the other thing. What you own
Axis,
is
if I may interject for just a moment, what my takeaway is from this is that any project, no matter what the chart looks like, no matter how many holders you have, is susceptible to bad OPSEC wrecking that chart and crippling it for God knows how long. And there's a follow-on cascading effect of panic that comes after somebody that nabs your tokens that you worked hard for to invest in and ride it all the way up, dumps it on everybody else's head. So if this guy had never gone into that room, had never approved the transaction or approved the approval, right? Then what would have happened? Your chart would be phenomenal right now, most likely. And people would have they'd be conditioned or let's say they would have the wherewithal to peel off a little bit, little by little. But attackers don't do that shit. They dump hard and then they leave. So what about that spin on this whole story?
You're so right. You nailed it. Like that single event totally shifted the momentum of the Solid Index because we had all that momentum coming off that move to 98K. Solid X had just hit 260. and Nope and Fire hit their all-time. Fire did like 137x in like a week or something. It was like insane. And these things were all bonded together. B9 benefited. Vets token benefited. Anything that was bonded to us rallied hard during that period. But the thing is, like, the downstream effects of that is all that was crazy. The downstream effects of it is that all these other tokens get hurt because of one person's mistake. And so it's so important that you guys take care of your keys. And I see it happen time and time again. And I feel for you, but it's like people like Papa Boner and myself, we're out here, we're trying to like help you do good things, good OPSEC. And but so then these liabilities, they stack. Like they're always going to be there. You can't get rid of them. There's always going to be somebody that's going to have some event that's going to occur. And by the way, and this is like the takeaway is like, you know, we're going to live on, and we have a big enough battle plan and strategy long term that, you know, one event like this isn't going to end anything. We keep coming back with more. So, and when I say we, I mean like, you can get APR in the farms that outpaces Hex APR by a pretty large margin at this point on 9-inch and 2 fucks. And so we're getting competitive, and we want to create something that performs well in price long term and is scarce and it pays you to hold it. These are like the types of things that's going to make an asset more valuable over time. And regardless of the short term downside, like look, Axis is at $9,600 today, and it's 207 million pulse per token. That's not a loss by any metric. Like it's still above the globally traded average, which is around 190 million pulse. So if you click that, the WPLS pricing up there at the top there where it says USD/WPLS, right under where it says BBC, middle of the screen, top middle of the screen.
Where?
It says USD in blue, and then it's got a slash, and then it says WPLS. It's a little bit to the right and then up. You're close. Keep going. Right to the right of indicators. To the right of that one. Yeah, click that. This reprices the chart in Pulse now.
Right.
So if you zoom all the way out and hit log, it'll so this chart here is
not on this chart. It's not the most liquid. It's just I picked this because it has all the history.
All the history is actually on the PulseX chart. So if you go click search, actually I can pull it up if you want.
Yeah.
DJ's too old.
This is the one. Or no, that's not the one either. Here, let me do this.
But this is the most recent one.
So this is what I was talking about.
You can share it. Yeah.
So if I so what this is this is the VPVR. So what this is if you throw on this thing called the volume range visible profile, it tells you across the whole history of the chart where has the most volume been traded, and that's right here at about 190 million PLS. So technically, when you're looking at the global average, the chart's above water, so to speak. It's about to come down and test that level. But here's the hack. So here's where we were pre-drain, was right here around 450 million. And it's interesting because, you know, over time, you know, so there's so many things to learn from this, but I mean, for example, there's an OG Hex Dolphin that bought in this zone here right before this big pump. He bought inside this zone here, and he was continually coming in and supporting the price over this many months of time. He was just coming in here supporting the price. I don't remember exactly where, but any different areas in here. He came back in and supported it here right before the big run up. I don't know who this guy is to this day, but when this thing ran up to 100K was the first time I saw him sell, and one man with 16 coins single-handedly crushed the price from about 56K all the way down to 20K. So this stuff does happen. And then that money actually moved into PDI. So then you got to wonder, so this guy that rode up this massive return from buying the coins all the way down here at like $800, riding it all the way up, and then converting that into does he believe in the PDI narrative? And could some of that, if PDI were to hit, you know, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1, you know, go up that 170x or whatever, is this a situation where he could bring back a portion of his capital and just send the price chart later? I don't know. But it's just interesting, right? So these are the kinds of games I like to play and think about.
Traders.
But yeah, up until that point, we were on a pretty nice trajectory. But then, yeah, the drain happened, and then bad optics. People were doing chain analysis and coming to all the wrong conclusions. Right. So,
Oh,
It's just
of course.
it's just par for the course.
But if we draw the bridge over to Pulsechain, do you think these are also like the reasons that have been holding us back for so long, that we have more like malicious people than benevolent believers on the chain? Is that fair to say?
If anything, this particular asset is storing pulse value better than a lot of other things. I think the bad things, I mean, I could pull up 100 charts that went straight up and straight down and then just went flat and died. And that was like value extraction. So that does happen, you know, rugs and stuff like that. And then the only time it really hurts, really hurts, is when money leaves the bridge. So that's where that gopulse.com/bridge, or you can use the, so like look here on the die that's on chain, like we're finally starting to look like we're bottoming here.
Yeah, it's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first signal. I mean, of course, in the pulse chart itself, these day after day green candles successively, this reminds me a lot of this period here before we blast it off. Like just this nice accumulation to the upside. You know, liquidity's gotten a lot lower because people are leaving the farms because they're scared of impermanent loss to the upside. So that's making the chart or the coin less liquid, which making it more volatile potentially if big money starts to come in and pile in. So,
right.
I mean, it feels a lot like we're getting ready to at least replay out something like this. Some sideways consolidation. Maybe the ETH ETF is a bullish event, and then we just kind of work our way up and go send it right before the end of the year.
Supposed to trade live next week. They're already loading the tickets. Papa B.
Yeah, no, just a couple things, because we've got very brief time before Toby comes in and spends 10 minutes simping on Axis and then 15 minutes of running overtime. So, Axis, a couple things. I'm curious. Your activity from brain to mouth is superior to many other streamers out there. So where did you get, what's your background that you know how to read all this stuff and public speaking, because you're very eloquent, you're well spoken. I want to know more about you in just 120 seconds, please.
Yeah, man, I did a lot of jobs as a young person. My first job ever was I was working in a radio station. I did a little bit of on air, a lot of pre-recorded, and then I was working at the front desk for a little bit. That was like my first real job, was working for a radio station. And then I moved into construction. So completely the other way, like totally hard labor, long days, 12 hours a day in the sun, throwing concrete around and lifting forms. And so just, you know, I've had a well-balanced career, I guess, of just doing all sorts of random stuff. And then it moved into, I was working in retail for Costco for many years. I worked for an airliner where I was a station agent at the same time. I worked for a bank for a short time doing IT. I've always been naturally inclined with computers, and I've been fascinated by computing. And then I had an obsession with video games, like competitively, like had to be the best at this one game that I played, and did that professional gaming thing for from 2005 all the way through till 2019, pretty much. And then I played a little bit after, but once I found, it's funny because building the Bitcoin mine and the Ethereum mine there in 2019, launching it in January, and then running it, you know, on and off throughout the year while Bitcoin was doing this. You know, I didn't have so much time doing three jobs as I could doing pro gaming anymore, kind of like left. And then funny enough, like Hex launches, and at that time I wasn't too interested in Hex. I had some Hex from the AA, but I walked away because remember what happened, it was minus 99% right away. So I was just like, probably lost the money. Didn't matter to me. I put a little bit of ETH in, but then in April, like I noticed that the price chart had mooned, and that was around when Godwill came in. And so it caught my attention, but it wasn't until August that I actually tried to like learn it and understand it. And I figured there has to be something more here, because that's when we were going into big payday and prices was starting to approach that 1 penny level. And, but by this time, I was still working retail, and I think at that point I was close to leaving the airline industry. I left the bank, was fully focused on the mining stuff. And then in May of that year, I had started streaming in February with whales only. And then I had streamed for a few months. And then that's when the account hit 7 figures, you know, and everyone was like going bananas in May. And I just said, you know what, I'm done with, I'm done with. Actually, what had happened was, this is so crazy. I had an offer for the facility, and I was like, well, my input, I doubled my money selling the facility, and I didn't have to get rid of the equipment. They didn't want the equipment. So I'm like, because these guys were a bunch of Ethereum miners, I was like, look, I'm not taking, this is the bowl of all bowls. This is the bowl of all bowls. If you want this place and you want to, you know, I'm going to run this business for the next decade. Like, if you want it, you're going to have to pay for it. So they wanted it bad enough that they were willing to pay. And so I had to take that deal. And then that was my send off. I quit working retail and I went full time crypto, and a lot of that capital rotated into, Ethereum and also by extension, Hex. And, so that's my story. I think that the years of competitive gaming lends itself well to like the metagame on Pulsechain now, because it is a high beta sport in a lot of ways. If you know how to use LP strategically, and then obviously all these other skills, right? The communication element and the analytics element. It's got a lot to do with the detail it took to be able to play video games at a high level. You had to be better than 4 other people all at the same time. And because it was a 4v4 game, so in your mind's eye, you have to be able to visualize the map, that you run around in. You had to be able to visualize not where they are, but where they're going to be before they're going to be there. So there was like a predictive element to that game, and so I think being able to do that with the 1%, like, allowed me to take those skills and then compose them in a new way for cryptocurrency.
Very cool. Very cool.
Wow.
Thank you very much for enlightening us on that
Radio
story so eloquently,
station.
quickly.
How about that?
He knows how to tune in his
I like-
microphone,
I
DJ.
like that.
Yeah.
I worked at a radio station too.
I
Okay,
got
so
a
we're
guitar
coming
back
up.
there.
Yeah. Oh,
And
Nice.
and I got my Axis coin posters courtesy of Brian Magruder.
of course.
Oh,
Hex
cool.
poster. So yeah, there's
Shout out to Brian Magruder with the hats.
yeah, he's awesome, dude.
We're
He's the
coming to the part of the show with Mr. TA with Toby. Let's make a little. I don't have a joke from Finn Bear, but let's make a little transition. Let's do this.
Can you see it? Look at everything. Look at everything.
Mistake.
Mistake? No, that's wrong. What?
The word mistake.
That's wrong. She just said that.
Notion. 1, 2, 3. 8.
8.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's there. It's very simple.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's there. Like, can you not see it at all?
1, 2, 3, 4. No.
You can't see it?
No.
What about you?
1.
1.
Yeah.
That's not the mistake.
2.
That's not the mistake. You actually don't know.
It's a mistake.
No. Do you actually don't know?
Talking to me like I'm an idiot. You're gonna be so real. Wait. What is 6, 8, 7?
What?
7, 8, 9.
No. Okay.
let's switch on
Let me tell you. Let me give you a hint. Let me give you a hint.
You're the mistake.
No. Look at the words.
Find
Look at the words.
Can you find the mistake? Question mark.
Do you give up?
Yeah.
Do you give up?
No. Mistake spelled wrong.
No. It's so obvious.
You're stressing me out.
I'm stressing you out.
Yes.
Do you guys see it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do that.
Ladies
Oh,
were
you're
answering
good.
questions. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. I didn't see it at first. But
Yeah.
Toby won. Welcome to the
Hey.
show.
Welcome, Toby.
What's up? Yeah, whatever, Papa. Don't start with me.
What
What's
color
up?
is this hair of yours
What's up,
now?
Ax? You mean
that's epic.
The color that's still left attached to my scalp. I want to do a little public service announcement and just beseech Donovan, just go ahead and shave it, bro. It's like, I understand the struggle of trying to keep up with male pattern baldness. I'm going to be shaving my head soon. Just give up the ghost. It's okay. We'll still love you.
Keep a 3 millimeter job and never look back. You don't have to
Yeah,
go to
right.
the hair salon no more. You don't have to get the frosted tips or whatever the hell they call it. It's all out the
Yeah.
window. Baldy's rule.
I had a good run.
Rick's dig
I
it.
had a good run. So it goes. What's up, Axis? Good to see you, bro.
Good to see you, Toby. Thank you. Good to see you.
DJ, pleasure as always, sir.
Can we do like a TA, like a stand by your weapons, like a TA showdown? Who can give us the most bullish?
I only want to hear bullish. Yes.
Prediction. Yeah.
My stuff actually is looking pretty bullish this week, but it's not my stuff. It's just the charts, right? So I mean, Axis can attest to that. It's like you call it how it is, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the RH coins are about to suck the air out of the room, and it sucks if you have other coins out there.
Yes, and we've seen little hints of that before, where there'd be some pumpage on RH coins, and then everything else tanked. It's like, okay, I mean, how many hints do you need to like make sure your RH bags are loaded? And if you're gonna participate in other tokens, be aware of how you proportion out your wealth, right? So I think
according to your nameplate, you're slightly less fucked. So I like that positivity now.
Yeah. Last week it was we're fucked. Like Maddie's.
And
leaving
now
with
we
Real
have
Life,
the V.
but,
We have a
slightly-
perfect V recovery on the
deep
4-hour
V,
chart.
the deep V.
All
I'll
right,
put
so
on my shark.
let's spin it. Let's spin it up. Let's spin it up.
Look at
Here we
that.
go.
We got
Okay.
140 people watching
All right.
live. This is crazy.
So
Smash
chop.
like,
Holy
subscribe,
moly! All right,
follow
let's
up.
see. Is it?
No.
What? There it is. What? There it is. There it is.
Where's your
Take it.
shit?
And Axis can look over your shoulder and check your work.
Yeah.
And
Dude, it's like
and
mine
every
is
time that
super
there's a
dumbed
problem,
down.
Axis will sound the buzzer,
Alarm.
which sounds a little bit like this.
Right. Yeah, that's
Damn, I
fine.
wish I had my easy button.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. That was easy.
I
Dude,
gave you the
super
millisecond
dumbed
to
down.
get it set up.
This is the whole point of it. It's like, here's what you got to understand.
There it is.
There it is. I don't claim to be some guru that like is like the best at TA ever. I mean, the
now
stuff
you
that I do
tell
for
him.
myself personally
Now he's
has
humble,
a lot
yeah.
more,
Humble
has a lot
Toby.
more layers to
Humble
it.
Toby.
It's like, I'm using like paid indicators from Crown and some other stuff that I've used for years. What the whole purpose of TA with Toby 1 is to dumb it down, keep it simple, make it accessible for people, and give them a better idea of like what.
Speaking
they
of
should
dumb,
be
let's get into
fearful
it.
of and what they shouldn't. So, oh hey, what? Papa's interrupting me? Never happens. Hey, all right. So let's start off with EX before we get into a family feud. In front, we've got a guest, Papa. Be nice. We have a guest at the dinner table, and you're being rude. All right, so EHEX. I always like to start with EHEX, the one, the only, the original OG Hex, right? Richard's firstborn son. Everybody loves EHEX. It's how we all kind of got introduced to what he was capable of. This is the 3-day chart. The reason I'm showing this is because it's the full zoomed out, full length of EHEX on TradingView. And you can see that we have this giant, it's not a bull flag, dude. Bull flags can't be that big. They just can't. But it kind of gives you an idea of like, a parallel channel, certainly, that we've been in all the way since the all-time high. If we go zoom in on this a little bit, this big yellow bright bars pattern you see, if you've been paying attention and following along here on What the Hex every Thursday, is a fractal pattern that actually was the June of 2020 through all-time high in September of 2021. So just on a whim, I'm like, wonder if I took that June 20 and lined it up with June 20th, which was that day of 2024, and see how it played out. And it was just really curious to me how it looked like we were going to like ride the line down the bottom of the channel, get a little pop up, roll over, bottom in September, run up, ironically, the week of the hearing, right? So how weird is that? That's just strange, right? It's like, I understand it's tea leaves, I understand it's astrology, it's like, but it's an odd coincidence that this would show that we would get a run up, and then it would roll over, which would be a sell the news type of situation over the next couple months toward the end of the year. And then right before the end of the year, we finally get the run up, and the full move of this bars pattern taking us to September of 2025 actually gets us up to a pretty significant area of support and resistance around 13.5 cents. Now, the thing that also, because I love numbers and I like how things kind of, not a brilliant mind, but it's like, imagine like that brilliant mind meme where all these things are kind of floating around and they kind of congeal. The thing that I liked about this is that the ratio between EHEX and PHEX is about 3.5 to 1, right? So if you take 3.5 times 13.5 cents, you get what, like 47 cents, something like that. So if you add those two together, that takes us above all-time high cumulatively. So all of that together seemed pretty cool to me. I'm like, that would be cool. I'd be happy with an EHEX at 13.5 cents by next September. And I would certainly be happy with PHEX or HEX on Pulsechain at around 47 cents. I think the upside potential on both of those is considerably higher, but I just
don't ruin the suspense for PHEX. Let's see that. Like,
Yeah, we're
how did
getting
you
there.
derive 47 cents?
So just quickly to wrap up with HEX, the zoomed in, we had this orange descending parallel channel that was kind of approaching the bottom of the larger white descending parallel channel. And what we found was interesting in that is that we had a breakout, or I'm sorry, a breakdown here back when I was on the show 2 weeks ago. We were kind of breaking out, and it rolled over. We got pretty much the move that we were expecting out of it, a little shy of it, right? Because typically the measured move of a parallel channel is the height of that channel. So we're a little short of it. It rolled over. We came back down into the channel, found good support on the bottom of the white channel and the orange. And then this is where we were last week. Where were we at? Around here. And we were coming up to the top of the channel. Here we were. So basically a week ago today, we were at the top of the orange channel. And the hope was we were going to turn the 21 EMA, which is this yellow squiggly line, the 21 EMA into support, right? So the whole idea behind that is, trying to get that guy to get less bright, get the fractal all the way. So basically we were trying to turn the 21 line into support instead of resistance. And it looks like effectively we've done that. And not only did we do that, we broke out of this orange channel. So the measured move of that should actually, now what we're doing is we're fighting against the 55 EMA, seeing some resistance there where we're wicking above it and then coming back below. If we can break above it and do the full measured move of this orange channel, we should start approaching this, which I believe is the 100 EMA. So up around 002, which I think everybody would be happy because this red line just above it, the 0022, is the infamous post big payday dump. So that's going to be a significant area of support, or of resistance rather, on the way back up for HEX. So I'd keep an eye out for that. But all in all, going back a couple of weeks, it's like this is much better, looking. And if we can just get, and like here you saw before where we tried to get above that 55 EMA, rolled over and crashed down considerably below even the 21 EMA. This time we're making another shot at the 55. Keep your fingers crossed that we can stay above it. We'll see. So that's
Axis, do you think this is ripe for a breakout? I see Hexo tweeting all the times, like 7 green consecutive candles in a row, which gives me Tone Vay's flashbacks from 2017, like 7 out of 9. He had this crazy indicator, the TD mark, I think. Or do you think we're in for another correction?
7 of 9 is that sexy chick in Star Trek, isn't it?
It's Star Trek. Yeah.
I've been tracking. I track Hex, and I track EHEX, and I track the combined Hex price. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, in terms of Pulse pricing, like the hexes are bottomed. So then the next question is like, how do we get there? I don't think it's going to play out like that again in terms of like and Toby knows this, that fractals pattern, that's just not going to play out the same way again, but
highly unlikely.
But so I don't know how we get there, but yeah, I think EHEX and PX are going to perform relatively the same amount of X's this cycle. So if it doesn't matter, like if one's going to do a 30X, the other one might just do like roughly the same. And so so like we're no longer like, forget about what the price is. It's all about the percentage points at this point, I think, for any of these coins. That's how I kind of like to view it. And I was watching this guy Hervé on that Herv, but it's pronounced Hervé crypto on and he's super conservative with his targets, and he's thinking no more than a 27X for PulseX and Inc. And then Hex is only going to get like 15X or something to like 8 cents, and that's PHEX. And so if you combine the market caps of all those up on those conditions, I mean, it is still many billions of dollars. Like, I think the Hex market cap last cycle in terms of non-OA supply was around like 80 billion or something. And so like your combined across all that is probably no higher than 80 billion unless we get adoption. And this is like serious time. Like this is Dad sitting you guys down, listening to the stream saying, hey, unless you guys go out there and bring in the next million people, the price performance is going to be way less than what you expect. Like we need to get new people in the game. This market needs to grow, and there needs to be 10x the participation. Like we're getting 10,000 wallets per day on Pulsechain. We need 100,000 wallets a day on Pulsechain. And that's
we didn't have 1 million people at the last go round.
No, we didn't. But we also only had one asset, and there was a cult belief that Hex was the thing, and it was the Bitcoin on ETH. It was the Bitcoin on ETH, and so it was just a completely different setup. And you literally just had the founder just say that the old one's not the real one, or like the old one, it was massive brand damage has been done to Hex.
Yeah.
And so like when you're talking about a long-term store of value, you can't have that where one guy could come in and affect. Like that was one of the biggest blunders I think I've ever seen on Hex. It was just this. I understand why it was done, and it might end up being the right decision to make, but only thing that's going to prove that is if both hexes go on to do incredible things price performance wise long term, because you have the same set of users. So this is like the TA's out the window. Like this is the truth, is like you have the same set of users. The non-EHEX believers are out. They're mostly in PHEX. They might have a few stakes left, but most of them have left. All that's left in EHEX is an EHEX and a PHEX believer. So it's the same set of users. So they're going to perform similarly.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we had like 300,000 holders on the hexes, but
Yes.
I mean, you got to think like, remember going into that pump to like 5 cents, there was still only like 60,000 stakers. So like the real base is less than 60,000, and most of those guys was friends and family that was onboarded by OG Hexicans. We just have a lot of work to do and a lot of growing up to do, and this chain needs to mature a lot and get more professional and get out there and build the right relationships and do the networking. Go to these events, ETH Denver, Bitcoin Nashville. Like we got to be out at these places, making connections with the big wigs. We got to get Gary from Funding Gym and Brandon Rags to Riches to the Minact event. Like that was we had a hand in that with the Axis group, and really proud of them for doing that. And
yeah,
like this is how we get ahead, is through like the fundamentals. Like the TA can only the TA is out the window on this stuff. But yeah, so we can crunch numbers all day, and like the numbers I've crunched is like if the 170,000 ETH from the sacrifice goes up 5x, theoretically you could do $1 million a day for 2,000 plus days, which could take the price 100x of everything. So that's all I need to know, and how we get there, don't really care. Doesn't matter.
And the stakers is about double. We are now 123,000 stakers on Pulsechain side. So if you say 60 back then, yeah, it's just a double. But at least we're moving forward.
Blazers and ties, I heard. DJ, get them out of the closet. This show is going to go formal.
The biggest gains happens when
I had the blazer on at the Pulsechain tour. RG was coming in with the dreadlocks.
So check this out. In terms of adoption, like you get the most adoption when the shit's going parabolic. Same thing for last cycle.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I was going to ask you.
What the hell is this?
I made it once again to the Rectex pleb channel.
Nice.
As a badge
Hey,
of
Axis,
honor.
I think you're already going this direction, but the corollary that I see, it's kind of like people even before the assassination attempt saying that Trump winning was a foregone conclusion. Well, that's exactly how you get beat, right? Because you think, hey, it's cool. It's like, I'm tired that day. Do I need to go to the polls? We got it. Same deal, where it's like there is this narrative, and I've put it out there myself about green candles, about how green candles is going to cause more adoption than any of us out there hustling and trying to do onboarding. That's true, and it's not. So I'm just kind of curious of your, take on that. My thinking is, don't rest on your laurels and expect the green candles to just come out of nowhere. Yes, we will get that because people like to chase green candles, but a bigger base to start injecting capital is going to move everything, more so in the direction that we like, and that involves onboarding now when it's really hard to onboard.
I think he just gave you that answer, and let's move on to Pulse and PulseX so we can get the fuck out of here.
All right. So in my final appearance here on the What the Heck show, let me go ahead and wrap up with Pulse. Jesus Christ, you're fucking such a ball buster, dude. All right,
1 hour format,
and just so everyone knows, I love Papa. Papa,
I love Toby.
This is how it is. It's like
put him in his gimp suit in the cage every time he's not streaming.
PLSX, all that I trust.
Infotainment is the key here, Axis.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
All right, so
we're a
Pulse,
comedy show. Let's go.
Bingo, yeah, kind of, right? Okay, so here we are on the Pulse chart. Similarly, I mean, Axis just kind of took the wind out of my sails, so bro, I'm trying to like show some upside here.
Yeah,
some
it's back
potential.
to we're
Yeah,
fucked
back
now.
to fucking reality with this guy.
But this
He's telling
Pulsechain
us it's like we
chart's
got to
good,
go out
though.
there and work and on
Supposed to
board.
be
It's like nobody wants
moonmath
to hear
right
that.
here.
I want to sit back and watch.
Stay
the
on
game and
target.
get rich, right?
Stay on target.
God damn it, I'm on target.
No
All
expectation.
right, so anyhow, we got the descending orange channel. The slope of the white channel kind of made me wonder a little bit if we were kind of rolling even to a higher steep slope. And it ended up being actually just a little bit of a bear trap down here, and then went back into the orange channel. But something that is interesting is there was some value in this little white channel that we played out, because if you look at the height of the white channel, which we now have broken out of, came back and retested, that would take us curiously back to the top of the orange channel, which is where it looks like we're going now. So I think that's kind of the next spot to watch. We are above the yellow EMA as I'm cleaning up here a little bit. We're above the EMA, and we do have a little bit of a tweezer top there on the daily. Does that mean we're going to peter out before we actually get to the top and maybe test not only the top of the orange channel and the 55 EMA? Maybe. Or the strength continues, and then the real resistance is going to be up here about 4048 is what I would speculate on this. And then, per usual, the measured move of a parallel channel is typically the height of said parallel channel. So if we were to break out of that in the coming days, then we would that would also make a case for moving up toward the 200 EMA, which is the magenta line there. So another point of confluence. So potentially, if we can extend this move, that would be that. So get out there and on board. That'll help that cause. Moving on to PulseX. Similar situation. Trend is your friend. We were in this downward slope for back since April. It looked like we were trying to round out a little bit of a bottom here instead of just riding down the bottom of the channel. Looks like we've done that. It's like we're trying now to set a higher high from here. And maybe we can get a higher low in there at some point too. I mean, technically we could consider that, but it's like I like to look at higher time frames, and I'm looking for higher lows.
Is that an Adam and Eve bottom that I see, or an Eve and Adam?
Exactly.
Capitulation candle.
And so essentially, I think similar situation as we were just looking at on Pulse. If we get the full measured move here, we would be well above the 200 EMA. We're already above the 55 EMA on Pulse X, which is nice. And it looks like we found some support there yesterday. So if we can stay above that, maybe even come back one more time and test it, even maybe down to the dip below it and down and test the 21 again, that would typically be a sign of strength for the move in the direction that you would like it to be going, which is up and to the right. Moving along to the new kid on the block, Hex, right? That guy on Pulsechain, the favored twin brother, apparently. We had a giant dump after the infamous tweeting, and then we've just been down and to the right since then. So everybody thought it was only going to impact EHEX, but there was drag on effects to all of the RH tokens. We found ourselves in this white descending parallel channel. As we had talked about before, when I drew this little squiggle a few weeks ago, something to look out for when you're breaking out of a channel is like an attempt to get back in and then a rejection further down. And then, this is what I was showing up here. If we got out of it, you come out of it, you come back and retest, and then you go. So that's kind of the theory on those little blue squigs. We did dip down, try to get back in, and dump down right out of it, like our little squiggly indicated. And we made pretty much that full measured move, right? So the full measured move of that is the height of that channel. We made that and worked our way back up, blasted through the 21 EMA, and are well within the white channel again. We're now at the midline and just below the 55 EMA. So I think, with continuation, if we can turn the 55 EMA, I sound like a broken record here, into support instead of resistance, maybe we work our way to the top of that channel, which was another significant area of support and resistance at 006. We break out of that, and then the measured move to the upside from there would put us well above the 200 EMA. And I think that would signify a pretty solid case for a trend reversal. And, maybe we can start finding some parallel channels that are sloping upward. So then the final of the RH tokens. The final of the RH. I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you go back to Hex for a second? I want to show these guys something. So, like, if you guys notice the trend here, all the dollar charts are doing the same damn shit. Yes. But if you click that pulse pricing once for me, this is where you're going to get resolution on what's actually happening. Go to like a 3-day.
3-day.
Yeah. Like we're making a higher low against Pulse. This is where you're seeing the strength in Hex is in Pulse pricing.
Yep.
Low, you made a new local high, wicked up there, shooting star, came back to test higher low, and now we're starting to bounce off that level. And if you're draw a fib on this from wick to wick, you can see kind of how these levels are being played with and respected. It's the third one down.
That one. Fib retracement?
Yeah, just from wick to wick.
Top to bottom, right?
From the very beginning of the chart all the way to the top. Like back in.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, I go back.
Anyways, my point is that with this is like now you can see resolution on. Well, okay, so you can't get any fucking resolution out of the dollar chart, but here you can see we all need Pulsechain to go up in value for any of these other coins to perform. Period. End of discussion. So like all that really matters ultimately is how is this coin or any coin performing relative to Pulse, and what you're seeing is that it's respecting the 786 on the pullback. It touched the 50%. It came back down. It's testing that. It's bouncing now. And so hopefully this has continuation and can make another local high. And now you start a situation where you have like a potential 3 rising valleys. And this whole chart can go up to the highs.
Hey, Axis, I just thought of something. I know that there's a combined hex chart. Is there just like an RH core chart that shows all 5?
No,
versus
I wish
USD.
There was.
Because dude, that would be
that
interesting. Because it's like because the thing is like I'm totally with you on what you're saying about this, and that is a good indication of kind of direction and in Pulse terms. However, I mean this is also showing that Pulse has performed less well than Hex lately.
Ultimately, what we need to see is if we could take all of the market cap charts, so market cap of Pulse, PulseX, Inc., Hex, and EHEX, put them all the market caps on one chart. Then it would be the most truest representation we could get. I'm on CoinTrader.pro quick to see if they even have PLS.
Yeah, that would be a really useful one, I think, as far as getting overall strength of the RH ecosystem. And
but this is something that Crispy can make for us. And then, yeah, I'll have him get on that right away as soon as he's done at Papa Boner's house.
Woo! Right on. He's going to be so stoned after he leaves there, he's not going to be able to do shit.
That's correct. Papa Boners, Pakaloa Luau.
Oh my goodness.
Pakalolo.
You have to get that little piccolo bong out for him.
Hey, and when you go into the ink chart now, just same thing.
Yes.
Do your analysis
Same
on the
deal.
dollar chart. Hold on. Start with the dollar price and do your analysis, and then show it in PLS terms. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So actually, that's interesting. This is Ink PLSX is how this one is. So that's not going to give me Pulse terms.
Well, it's interesting because against PLSX, it's breaking down because PulseX is stronger, but against Pulse, it's flat.
Got it. So I'd actually have to grab the other pair to do the Pulse in Pulse terms, but in US dollar terms, just to kind of continue with the trend of our weekly Toby one dumbed down TA show here. We had the descending white parallel channel about a week ago. Where were we? That was right. We were hoping that we could hang on and turn it around. We wicked below, had a nice bounce off the bottom of the channel, and now where are we? Right at the top of the channel, which which is coincidentally fighting the 55 EMA. You kind of see it hiding there. Now, if we were to break out of that, the upward trajectory of that actually gets us into this other pattern that we had kind of been in and out of, for months, which would be a good indication that maybe we slowly start to work our way back up to, the upside of that channel, which is like $8. So, we'll see how that plays out. Let me see if I can go over to, I got to get out of here to get out of full, and I got to go to watch this, and I got to find Ink.
Oh, now we see all your shit coins.
Dude, I watch all kinds of stuff. I'm just a numbers junkie, so it's just fun to see kind of what other stuff is doing.
Of course.
And careful with calling it shitcoins because I'm watching the SolidX index and we got Axis right below you, bro. Easy. So I'm a believer in the SolidX index for sure. Okay, so here's this one. Let's get this full screen, and this is in Pulse terms. And you want to do 3-day on this as well? Yeah, same situation as you were talking about, and we can do the fib on this now that I'm kind of, we should have pre-gamed a little on, then I would have had a better idea of what we're doing.
Well, here's my just quick dirty analysis is that look at how flat and range bound ink has been. So it's really showing that it's being accumulated up here and it's holding its value in Pulse terms better than a lot of the other coins on the chain. Which this has been the ripe time to be in the farms because you're not suffering impermanent loss and you're just milking the farms for all the ink. So that's kind of what I've been telling my members for a while now. Now, if we're approaching some potential breakout in my case, this would be the time that you'd pull the farm and wait for the chart to boom and then resettle at a new, hopefully range bound level against Pulse.
Yep.
Interesting.
Let's see. And then somehow, oh no, don't tell me that. Have I lost my fucking Bitcoin chart? Well, I guess we're not looking at my Bitcoin chart because it's like I was fucking around trying to pull an ETH chart for Papa and I blew up my Bitcoin chart. So
now I'm to blame. Okay. Yeah.
Next time. I was trying to help you out, bro. You want, like last week you wanted ETH and it's like I thought, well, maybe I'll play around with
and ETH. There it is. Thank you.
So
looks beautiful.
Yeah. Anyhow. But yeah, that was fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Toby. Well done. All right. Well, there you have it.
So Axis not too terrible, right? I mean, as far as like dumb down, keep it simple for people. I mean, you think it's
so there you have it. Begins the listen to DJ Cryptomatic wrapping up the show moment.
Wow.
DJ, take it away.
Hey,
Get us out of here.
How did I go on my TA?
I was just curious what his take on it was for people that might wonder,
What the heck's
like, is
indeed?
it worth watching or not? Like, in his opinion, is this helpful at all to anyone?
Just one thumbs up or thumbs down from Axis, please. That's it.
Should I quit?
Yeah.
Should I quit?
Sevens in
All
the
I'm
chat.
asking.
Yeah.
Emperor, thumbs up.
We're gonna need to do a team meeting.
Yeah, there we go. Team meeting.
Any last?
My channel starts 2 weeks from now, so I'm gonna come on over.
Hey, he's one of my board members, so I gotta protect him. But
yeah, that's right. That's right.
To overtime.
But you're a new member though, so you've only been just starting with me.
It's a few months. It's a few months. I'm earning my stripes there. So
DJ,
good stuff.
Take the opportunity.
Axis, any last words? Also, I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this Fink clip that we played at the beginning of the show with the BlackRock guy? Because we are kind of trained and conditioned not to outright believe these things. Are they just playing games, trying to comfort retail into getting into the space now that their bag's already packed?
BlackRock literally wants Papa Boner to blow a blood vessel. That's why they did that clip in the beginning. I can see you down there. I can see you. Okay. Here's my 30-second is they want to take over crypto. They want to control it from the Bitcoin angle, and they want to squeeze all the volatility out of the market and have full control of rehypothecated paper Bitcoin. And that benefits everybody that got in before now, and maybe just this last cycle. And then after that, like, we got to pray that our chain and some of these other new chains and utility coins that are going to come out are going to be able to break away from the 4-year cycle and break away from Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they're going to be able to get a life of their own, so they actually don't get all the gains stripped out of them.
But they also got Ethereum ETF too. So that's a bit of a problem there for all of the chains that are related, correct?
Looking at Solana, there's a lot of stuff coming up.
It's a problem if our SAC wallet didn't have 170,000 ETH, or if Justin Sun didn't have hundreds of thousands of ETH, or so we're still enough guys that has some that we can do something about it for the short term.
Right on.
Cool. Axis, shill your shit. Links to your stuff are in the description. Can you tell people where to find you? What you're currently working on? Yeah,
so I've announced very briefly that there's a upgrade coming for the AxisAlive token. I'm not going to say much more than that. And if you want to learn more about kind of the services I offer, go to axisalive.com/services. And if you want to watch free content, go to youtube.com/AxisAlive. And if you want to, I'm just sort of charting again on Twitter, or X. So if you want to go check out x.com/AxisAlive, I've got some free content on there as well. Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Hey, wait, one thing, DJ, before we part, I just want to put a timestamp in the current events that happened this week, just in case anybody wants to put that in perspective later on by rewatching this. Who would want to? Who knows? Donald J. Trump there was an assassination attempt on his life. He got hit by the ear. Secret Service, big kerfuffle there. They're looking into it to see if there's any kind of problems. There were lots of problems. JD Vance was named as the candidate for VP. Unfortunately, Jamie Dimon too has been whispered to be courted for the for the Treasury Secretary position, and now he's cooler than he was negative on crypto is the report, but I think that heaven help us if he becomes the Treasury Secretary. He'll be worse than Mnuchin
Although
for
he's
us.
Bitcoin.
Yep, but J.D. Vance, a pro-crypto candidate, supposedly has Trump's ear, obviously. Maybe we'll see some big change. That's my summary of the week.
And
any
he holds
questions?
6 Bitcoins. So I'm hearing.
Oh, right on, right on.
There you go.
It sounds like a hillbilly masterpiece.
Hillbillyology. Check it out.
Yeah.
Got 190 people tuned in live. Thank you so much for coming through. Axis, thank you for being on the show. Toby with the TA update, Papa B. We're out of here. Follow up, smash the likes, ring the bell, all that good stuff. We see you guys on the next one. Salute.
I don't believe that we should ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. Then we can't take them violently out of the hands of government. All we can do is, by some sly roundabout way,